All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I have a message on Slack that should be going out should have gone out 6 minutes ago. So that message has all the material we have for this week. There's the attendance form on there, so make sure you get that filled out. There's also the assignment submission form, so whenever you're done with all your assignments, you can throw them on there. There are the slides for the week, so if you want to reference them while I'm talking or afterwards, those are there as well. And then we're doing like a little activity before we start the assignments, so there's the downloadable for that. Other than that, I want to welcome you to our class. I know I said this last week, but with it being virtual, things went a little bit strange. So this is going to be our official first in-person session, and then going forward for the next 3 weeks. This is how we're going to be doing it. Again, just a quick reminder, we have all these sessions recorded, so I understand in probably about a week or two, many of you are going to have your first exams. And then other things also happen. Again, all 5 of us up here are students, so completely understand all the difficulties of having to do extracurriculars. So if for any reason you have to come late, leave early, or just skip a whole class in general, right? That's the whole point of us recording this, is we want to offer the alternative for you to kind of work at your own pace. And then of course, with it being such a large skill gap, for people who may need to rewatch the lecture to grasp it, it's going to be up there as well, and whatnot. So again, welcome. This is week 2 of the CAD/3D printing course. Today is going to be probably the bulk of the course. Last session was kind of like the syllabus week. Not too many important things. Today we're going to be focusing on a lot of the core concepts behind Fusion. And then next week we're going to get a little bit more into some advanced topic. And then before you know it, we're going to be starting our final project. So the first thing we were talking about today is something called constraints. So last week when we were designing our parts, you'll notice that whenever you drew anything up on your screen, right, you would always draw like a preliminary shape such as a square or a circle or a line, and it would always be blue, and that's because it was unconstrained. There are 2 types of constraints in Fusion, and for that matter of fact, any CAD software. There's dimensional constraints, and then there's geometrical constraints, right? Dimensional constraints we already covered. Those are the numbers that you would assign. So you would click on the left endpoint of a line, the right endpoint of a line, and you type in 3, right? 3 inches, that's a dimensional constraint, right? You're adding a numerical value to constrain that object somewhere in space. The other side of that is called the geometrical constraints. So as you can see, there's a bit of a graph up here on the screen. If you can't see it, again, we have the lecture slides sent out so you can look at it a bit more in person. Now, if any of you have ever taken a geometry class before, congratulations, you know everything that's on the screen. It's pretty self-explanatory stuff, right? We're talking parallel lines, coincident, midpoint, parallel, perpendicular. Nothing fancy here. It's all stuff that you've seen before in a high school level geometry class. Now what we're doing is we're attempting to apply it to CAD and Fusion in general to kind of aid and assist you with the design of your parts and models. So you can look here. These are some of the more popular ones, or I guess more useful ones, right? There's coincident, which allows you to snap 2 points to share the same X, Y, Z location in space. There's collinear, where you're going to have 2 lines and they're going to share the same path along space. There's concentric, so 2 circles are going to share the same center point. Midpoint, right? You're going to constrain a point to another line's midpoint. Fixed/unfixed, so that's if you ever want to ground something. So if you want a certain area or line or shape of your design to be where everything's built around, you can fix it so that everything gets built around that and that doesn't move. There's parallel and there's perpendicular. On the next page, here's some more of them. You have horizontal and vertical, you have tangent, and then equal. Symmetry and smooth are a little bit weird. I will be honest, I can't really think of an instance where I've used any of them before, but they are there. So if you can read what it does and you think you might be able to find an application for it, again, a cool thing about Fusion is that just by leaving your cursor over any of these features, it always tells you what it does. So if you think you can find a use for any of these, I encourage you to go ahead and use it. So in the big message that I sent out in Slack, and just to make sure that that did go out correct. All right, sweet. So in there is a .f3d file. That is Fusion's notation for their specific files. This is a worksheet that I found online. And I've learned from doing this before in the past that just talking about constraints is kind of weird and not so good for practice. So I found this online. My professor back in high school used it for us, and I kind of wanted to push it forward and use it for you guys. So if you open up the general channel and you download this folder, you can go ahead and open it on Fusion. So it's going to take a second to load. But what I want to get out of this, right, is what we're going to be doing today and what we kind of did yesterday is we're all about teaching you tools to put into your tool belt, right? I know it's an analogy I've heard plenty of times in my classes, but it's a good one. And what we want to do is show you methods and approaches to designing things so that whenever you get this big open-ended question of, how do I design X, Y, Z, you have lots and lots of paths that you could take to it, and you're not constrained by your lack of knowledge. So this is one of the most important ones, right? Constraints in general, but more specifically, geometric constraints. So if you're able to import this into Fusion, how this is it's a drawing. So we didn't cover this last time in class, but anytime you want to go and edit anything, down here at the bottom is your little timeline tree. So just for this specific example, if you want to go and open up the sketch, it now allows you to start editing what you have in front of you. So like I said, this is a worksheet that was made by somebody else. And there are little blurbs of text kind of telling you what to practice. So when you are in sketch mode, what's up top here on the top right, these are all your constraints. So I'm just going to give you guys maybe 5-10 minutes. We'll see. Again, I know it seems cheesy, but if you kind of go through and practice all these and you just understand what they do and that they're there, once you move on a little bit into the future and you start designing your final project, you might be able to use this very early on in your design process, and it'll be able to help streamline and optimize your designs a lot. So it's 5:45. You guys can raise your hands and call over myself or any of the 4 TAs if you need help. Again, this is kind of just like a self-discovery just to see what some of the tools are that Fusion offers. So we'll give it about maybe 7 minutes, and we'll come back at 5:52, and we'll start the actual assignments. Just one last thing. We've said this before in the past in the other classes, and I just want to make sure this applies to you guys. If you're working way ahead of schedule and you just find yourself bored out of your mind sitting around, I'll get to you in a second. Feel free to use this time to do whatever you want to do. If you have homework for another class, go ahead and do it. If you want to sit on your phone or search the internet, it does not bother me or any of us. Please use this time wisely. I don't want you to sit around and burn 2 hours of your time if you feel like you're not using it well. So if you need to do homework or anything, by all means, go for it. first week, so it just is what it is. Hey, can one of you go help? There's multiple questions on it.
There's a question as well. I mean, finish grading.
No. The computers auto wipe every night. So all your software, all your stuff gets deleted.
That's very interesting.
You know, it's really annoying. But like, that's what it is.
Is there a way for them to open the file in Fusion? Because as a MacBook, when you click something to open it, it just won't open.
It should download it to his computer first, and then it's a .f3. Let me see. It's a .f3. It's a Fusion file, so. so we are going to come back and we're going to start working on this first assignment. If any of you had problems with that one particular worksheet, I just want to apologize. Fusion is pretty buggy. I've said this to a few people already, but we come across brand new bugs every time we run this course, and it just always blows us away how ridiculous some of them can be. So if you had some issues modifying that worksheet, it's fine. We're not taking it for a grade. That was simply just for practice. So if you were able to just open up a new file and practice it there, or just by hearing me talk or seeing somebody else do it, you understood the premise, that's totally fine. That's all we were trying to hit at. From here going forward, we're going to be doing the assignments in class. We're going to do them with the same kind of setup we did before with the last session. So the thing with CAD is there are multiple paths to the right answer, and which path you choose to take is entirely dependent on your it's a big mixture of your creativity and how well you understand the topic. It's this big blend of multiple things. So how we're going to be doing this assignments is I'm going to quickly run through the assignment in front of you, right? I'm going to show you the way that I like to do it, the way that I think might be the best. And then, just like what we did with this assignment, we'll give you about maybe 15 to 20 minutes to work on it at your own pace. That's the really cool thing about having myself and all these other TAs here, is whenever you run across roadblocks, all right, you can call us over and then we'll help you more personally one-on-one. But then again, if you are grasping it really well and you burn through it really quickly, you can either finish it all before the hour and then leave, or you can just work on other things here. So this first assignment that we're working on is we're going to be making a gear in Fusion. So I'm going to open up Fusion. You've got to be kidding me. Okay, so we're gonna open up Fusion, and I'm gonna take one quick look back at this, just so I know what I'm making. So we're making a gear, and we're gonna be making it with 3 different parts. We're gonna make the center of the gear, which is just the big diameter circle. We're gonna make one of the tooth, and a good practice about CADing in general is you wanna try to optimize things and sort of just be lazy. You can manually make 10, 20 teeth on the gear, and although that would be correct, the better or more optimal way would be to just make one and then make copies of it, right? The better ways to CAD are generally the more efficient ones, right? The ones where you are kind of more quote unquote lazy because you let the computer and the powerfulness of the software do all the work for you. So although this may look maybe a little bit complicated, I can assure you that it's done in probably 3 to 4 steps. So we're gonna open up Fusion, and we're gonna start a new sketch. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a circle. And we don't grade anything for dimensions in this class, so I'm just gonna pull arbitrary numbers out. If you struggle grabbing the numbers that I got, it's totally fine. Again, just use any numbers that you'd like, and so long as the form resembles what it's supposed to be, you're all good. So we're gonna add a diameter to the circle. We'll say about 4 inches, and then we're gonna finish the sketch. We'll zoom out. It looks good. And I'm gonna go back, and I'm gonna reopen the sketch, and I'm gonna make one of the teeth, and then I'm gonna pattern it around the body of the gear. So I'm gonna start with the line tool, and I'm gonna go use the construction feature, right? This is a personal favorite feature of mine. I use it all the time. It's super great, and it allows you to kind of eloquently model your things without a lot of busyness on your screen. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my center, I'm gonna click, and I'm gonna drag up to create a construction line that goes from the center vertically all the way out of the circle to the top of my screen. Right? Next, I'm gonna go create another line, and I'm gonna go off to the side, just over here. I'm now gonna use the tangent constraint, and I'm gonna tangent this to the top of the circle. Right? You'll notice it's kind of floating off to the side, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply a midpoint constraint to this line. So now we have this cross-like shape, and I'll zoom in. We have this cross-like shape sitting on top of my circle. So now, what I'm gonna go do is I'm gonna go to the line tool, and I'm gonna make half of a tooth. So I'm going to start from the top. I'm going to quickly change out of construction because I want to make a solid line. I'm going to click. I'm going to drag out. And then I'm going to go kind of at an angle down and connect. So now here's where I'm going to start making up some dimensions. I'm going to give this, I'm going to give an angle between these two lines of about 110. And then we'll dimension this top part. We'll give it about 1/2 inch. And then we'll give this a height value. We'll say 1.2. All right, and you'll notice the sketch is fully black. That means it's fully constrained. So it is locked in to its XY position on Fusion. We cannot move it up. We cannot move it down, right, left. We can't rotate it. It's locked in there indefinitely. It's not going anywhere. So what I'm going to do next is, we talked about this a little bit in the last class. Over here is the Modify tab. The Modify tab is just like quick little fix-ups to your CAD. So kind of like whiteout, just like a quick little fix-up. So what we're going to do is, last time I showed you the trim tool, right? That was to remove certain little tiny snippets that we don't want. What we're going to do, the opposite of it, is called the Extend tool. So we're going to go to Extend, and then we're going to click on this line, bring it out, and now we have the same shape that we did have before, but now it connects with the circle. So the next step we're going to take is we're going to go over to Mirror, and then this little prompt pops up on our screen. Anytime you have one of these features that has prompts, just take the time to read them and make sure you understand what it's asking you. So the first prompt is the objects that I want to mirror. So I want to mirror this line and this line. And then I'm going to change over to the other prompt, which is the mirror line. And I'm going to select this vertical line because I want to mirror that shape around this vertical line. And I'm going to push OK. Now, just taking a quick look at it, it looks a little bit funny, but all these things are driven. So I can actually go in here and I can shrink this down a little bit. And you'll see the mirror is based off of this original sketch. So if I change the original sketch, the whole mirror changes, right? So that looks a little bit better. And we'll go into finish sketch. Now, to finish the gear shape, right? That took me maybe about a minute to do that. I could spend another 8 to 9 minutes doing that over and over and over again, or I can let Fusion do it for me and make multiple copies of it. So under Create is Pattern, and I want to go to Circular Pattern. Now, same thing. It pops up with a prompt. Just take the time to read it and understand what it's asking you. So the pattern I want is circular, and I'm quickly realizing I'm in the wrong menu because this is asking about bodies. Many of these features have multiple uses of them. So, for example, many of the patterns can be used to pattern bodies. Mirror can be used to pattern bodies. Fillet can be used to fillet bodies, but they also have a separate submenu underneath the sketch. So if any of you run across that problem, right, where you're trying to mirror sketch, but you're in body mode, or you're trying to fillet a body, but you're in sketch mode, just understand that there's two different types of them. So I opened up, I'm back in my sketch. I'm gonna go to circular pattern. Same thing with the prompt. I'm gonna select what I want to pattern. So I'm gonna select these 4 parts of the gear, tooth, select center point, select the center of the circle, and now it's made me 3 copies of them. I'm gonna go down here to the little menu. I'm gonna keep pushing up until I'm satisfied. We'll go to 7, and we'll push OK. So that we now have 7 gear teeth, and we're gonna go to extrude. Now, you could go in and click on each of these, or you can go up to the corner, click, drag on all of them, and now it selects to the entire body. And then we'll do distance, we'll do 1 inch. So now we have this right here. And then really quickly, we're gonna do one last thing to this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add a hole to this body. Now, there's 2 ways to get holes into shapes in Fusion. And this is one of the few times where there is a right way and there is a wrong way. You could go add a sketch, you can go create a circle, and then you can go cut away this circle. And that is the wrong way. And the reason I say that is because in Fusion and in a lot of these CAD programs, there's typically some affiliation with manufacturing. As you can see in the top left, you can open up the design menu and go to manufacturing. So you can code the manufacturing process for all of these parts and then get them sent over to CNC machines. So if you draw a circle and extrude that out as a whole, that loses a lot of information for the machine, and it's not the most efficient way to do it, right? If you're gonna get a machine to do the work for you in manufacturing and you're taking away most of the information, you're not really helping yourself out. So the correct way to make any type of hole in any CAD software is to use the hole tool because it's embedded with a lot more information that supplies and assists the machine. So we're gonna go to the hole tool, we're gonna add a hole to the center of the gear, we're gonna push OK, and then really quickly we're gonna go under create and we are going to add a thread. Threads need to be placed inside of an already existing hole. So the first step we did was create the hole, and now we can go select the hole and add a thread to it. Okay, and that is the first assignment for the day. It is 6:05. I know that may have been a little bit fast, but again, all of these step-by-steps are on the slides, and then we're here to help you out. So we'll give until 6:20, maybe 6:25. And of course, if you need help, just raise your hand and we'll come over and assist you guys. Laptop's gonna die. I saw the notification. I was like, oh shit, I gotta type faster. No, it fell out of the standing. I was wondering why it was so quiet when I was talking. It fell out and it was just like dangling by my chest. That's fine. I'll go over there and check. Let me get you first, and then I'll go over and help him. Yeah. Right. Yeah, okay. So why that happened was you had, okay, so notice where this dimension is. Your dimension, that point to that point, if you're saying that's 2 inches, whenever you go to extend, you are moving that point downward, and that 2 inches no longer holds true. So you need to just redimension it. Right? You can't be doing it, you're breaking the dimension. Yeah. So you extend it, and then just I'll be with you in a second. No, you're on. I don't think that should have yes, but you want it to be a through hole, so you can just assign it any value bigger than whatever you did. So you would have to do something symmetric. It's not symmetric. So if it was symmetric, there's nothing telling this line what could be triggered. So you need to add it up. filing and everything, you snap it onto your sketch. But always by default, you're gonna have the center point available, and you can just snap it onto your sketch. But if you want it somewhere else, you just take a sketch. Yep. Okay. So, as far as people in the district, and the reason that is, we're doing so like how I said, this is yours are this is the code. This one is the highlight. I know a lot of people already on it, but it's not behind. I literally. I don't care. They need to really
All the assignments are graded in
on the Excel sheet.
I'm putting them on the Excel sheet.
Actually, thank you. I made it a personal goal to rewrite this entire day's curriculum. I hated it. 6 mini assignments that focused on like a tiny niche little skill, and I was like, no, I'll just rewrite it all.
Yeah.
Have it be 2.
You don't need that.
I hated them. I thought they were so weird. Like these are a little bit better.
I mean, the gear is good. And
The hair dryer throws like so many in there at once.
Was profile planes included? Or not?
You mean profile offset plane?
Yeah.
No, that's something we've never done before, but it's really important, so I wanted to throw it in there. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next one. It seems like many of you have already started it. I see that a few of you have gotten stuck, which is totally fine. Previously, before in the past, we used to have like 7 assignments for this one specific day. I didn't like that, so I threw them all together in this one big assignment that I incorporated it all. So it's kind of complicated because there's a lot of really weird small things all incorporated in together, but we'll walk through it together. So this is the hairdryer assignment, and we're going to be touching a lot of different features in Fusion. We're going to put them all together to make one big final project. So first thing we're going to do, and I'll break this up into sections, right? So I'll do maybe a third of the project, give you guys maybe 5-10 minutes, do the next third of the project, give you another 10 minutes, and then I'll do the last third and give you another 10 minutes. We're already at 6:30, so we're pretty much on track to maybe finish 20-30 minutes early. So that's always great. So to start off with the body of the hairdryer, and I'll open it back up again. I'm going to explain what we're doing first. So to get this kind of weird, non-symmetric, inorganic shape, what we're going to do is we're going to make various sets of circles at various sets of heights, and then we're going to do something called a loft. So we're going to collect the boundary, right? You notice that each of these circles have a boundary, right? That's the circumference. We're going to get each of the boundaries, and we're going to kind of connect them. So I'm going to open up Fusion, and I'm going to start off with the sketch on my bottom plane. And I'm going to make a circle, and I'm going to dimension it to, say 4. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so I made a sketch on the bottom. I gave it a dimension of 4 inches. And now I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to pan so that I can kind of see in the big picture. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add another plane to this, and then we're going to keep building up, and we're going to keep going out. So I'm going to finish the sketch, right? Because sketches can only be made in a plane. And if you want to make sketches on different planes, we have to make different sketches. So we're gonna exit out, and we're gonna go to offset plane, and I'm gonna quickly go to cancel, and I'm gonna show you just about everything that Fusion has to offer with terms of plane, right? So as I mentioned last time, anytime you make a sketch, it has to be on a plane, right? You have the default XYZ, and then you also have any face that you make through any of your shapes. So if you want anything extra, in this little drop-down tab is multiple options to make more planes where you can start your sketches. So we have offset plane, which is the one that we're going to be using today. It's probably the most common one that you use. There's also mid plane, and then there's tangent plane, which you may use a little bit. So we're going to go to offset plane, and I'm going to select my XY plane, and then I'm going to drag up, and we're going to offset this plane from the XY plane, and we'll give it a distance of about 3 inches. So now we have a plane that is parallel to my XY plane, but is floating 3 inches above it in space. So I'm going to start a new sketch, and we're going to select the plane I just made. And to resemble a hairdryer shape, I'm going to make another circle, but we're going to make this one a little bit bigger. So we'll say a little bit more. We'll go to 6. So now we have this type of shape. And now we're going to do it again. So we're going to do an offset plane, and you can either offset from the bottom plane and pull up, or you'll notice that the last sketch you made has its own plane. So you can reference it either to 0, or you can reference this to the last plane that you made. I'm going to reference it from 0, and we're going to pull up, and we'll make this one at about 6. So we're going to make another sketch. We're going to select the plane that we just made, and I'm going to add another circle. So I'm going to go in and give this a value of 3, finish sketch, and then once more, we're going to start, make another offset plane, and this one I'm going to give the exact same diameter as the last one. So we'll give it a value of 3. So now we just have this shape right here in front of us. So under Create is where we're going to go find the loft tool. So again, we have 4 sets of boundaries, and we're making as Fusion says, a transitional shape. So it's going to connect the boundaries in a way, and that's how we're going to get the shape that we want. So we're going to go to Loft, and then the first thing we see, our mouse is on Profiles, and we're going to select our 4 profiles. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, and it turned out a little bit strange, and that's something I want to point out, is that many things in Fusion are driven. So if I want to go in and change it, I can go back to my original sketch. So let's say this needs to be a little bit fatter. We'll make it 3.5. Push Finish Sketch, and it changes with it live. So now, by changing that up a little bit, we kind of remove the bottleneck a little bit. It looks a little bit more like a hairdryer. So we're going to keep it here. And the last thing we do before we break is we're going to add an interior finish to it. So we're going to go under Modify, and you're going to see Shell. What Shell is going to do is it's going to completely cut away all the meat or all the material from the inside, and it's going to hollow it out like a vase. And you'll see, because we don't have a handle or anything else to it, it's pretty much going to look like a vase. So we're going to click on the exit point. It's kind of like how I'd think about it. So the exit point where the open hole is going to be, and then we're going to apply an inside thickness. I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to push OK. And now you see we have a hollowed out end of a hairdryer. Really quickly while I'm here, I'm going to add a fillet to the outside ring. And that is a good chunk of the beginning of this project. So we will give about another 10 minutes for you to catch up and get to this part. And again, if you need any help, just raise your hand and we'll come over and help you. It's the best.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably just using my phone.
That is true. This is one of the few things where I feel like you could do both.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do either way and it'd be like equally. Except it would be weird trying to get the curve because you have to have multiple circles, like arcs and whatnot. Yeah. So they both have their pros and cons.
never saw like this thing was like 10 megabytes.
Like, I remember you were downstairs and the match was upstairs. Yeah. And I remember that was like, whoa.
Yeah. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, oops. Hold on, I'll fix that. There you go. Since it's not symmetric, fusion really can do that for you. So you would just have to manually do the offset. Offset plane and just type in the value. So you can So you have to click on one of the plane or the X, Y, Z at the bottom. But your body actually go to the body icon in the big drop. And now you can go, you won't interfere with the body, you go and have an offset plane. That's perfect. That's perpendicular to the outside of the body on your side. So create a sketch on that, and then turn on, you'll notice it's turned on. Turn on your origin. Snap it to your origin. That's right up here. If I don't answer your question from here, I can come over and help you. Okay, so we're gonna finish up. I think we can actually do this all in one big step. So we're gonna finish up the project by doing the last final components to it, and then just like everybody else is doing, whenever you guys are done, you're free to go. But if you want to stay and receive more help, we're all good for it. So we're gonna add a handle, and then we're also gonna add a cord to this hairdryer. So when I first tried to do this, I thought the best way to do it was to add a tangent plane to the outside of this hairdryer. What you'll notice, this is kind of a complex curve, and depending on where your Z coordinate is, you have a different X value corresponding to it, right? So if it was a circle, you would be able to put a tangent constraint because you have that, that constant radius, but this is a changing value. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go add another offset plane, and we're gonna select this one for reference. It doesn't matter, of course it's symmetrical, so you could select either your XZ or your YZ, doesn't matter. So I'm gonna select my YZ, and we are going to drag out this plane a little bit. I'm gonna push OK. I don't exactly remember what I made this fattest part of the hairdryer to be, so I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna edit it. I see it's 6. And what I can do is, to certain amounts, you can actually type in math into here. So I can just do 6 divided by 2, and it'll solve it. So you can put big, complex, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division problems in here. Don't throw any calculus in here, but you should be able to just throw in some basic algebra, and it'll be able to solve stuff for you. So we have a new plane that is tangent to the outside of our hairdryer, and from here, we're gonna start our handle. So what I want to do is I want to place a handle, the center of the handle right here along this axis, and by default Fusion always turns your XYZ axis and plane off. So if you ever want to go in and turn it on, you'll see right over here, right, all these icons are visibility. You'll notice that your origin is invisible right now. So we're going to go and turn it on, and now you'll notice, and I'm going to go and turn the bodies off to show you this. We now have my 3 axes and my 3 planes are back. And then I'm going to go turn my body on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start a circle, and I'm going to snap it on to the bottom, right? So we just turned our origin on. We have the middle point. We're going to snap it onto the bottom. We're going to pull up a little bit, click, and then we're going to drag out. And then we're going to assign some dimension to this. So we'll give this 3 inches, and then we'll just dimension it from the bottom. We'll give this 2.5, just like how we see here. So now we're going to go ahead and extrude it. But you'll notice if I extrude it this way, there's multiple problems we're going to get. The first one is down here it says cut. So Fusion tries to be helpful. If it thinks it knows what you want, it's going to try to do it for you. In this case, it's wrong. We don't want to cut anything out. We want to add stuff. So I'm going to go in here, manually override it. I'm going to put it to join. So now that's the first problem that we had. We just fixed it. The second problem that we have is you can kind of see we have this gap right here that's not being filled in. So what we can do is we can go over to direction right here. Direction right here. And we can change it to 2 sides. So now from our starting point, we can extrude it one way, and then we can also extrude it the other way. And now it's completely filled in. You'll notice that it sticks inside of the hairdryer because we went a little bit too far. So we'll shrink it down. We'll do 1/8. We'll see if 1/8 fixes it. 1/8 is too much. We'll do 1/4. 1/4 is still too little. We'll do, keep going up. All right, there you go. There's 1/2 inch. That looks good. So we'll push OK. We have now added a handle to the hairdryer. We're going to go in and add some more finishes to it. So under Modify, we're going to go add a chamfer. We did these last time, but they're always good practice. We're going to add a chamfer to the bottom of the handle, just like so. And then we're going to go and add the cable. to the handle. So how we're going to do that is I want my cable, right? My cable is going to go out of the dead center of the circle. So I'm going to need two sketches, one that goes in my, let me see, one's going to go in this direction, right? So that's my ZX plane. And then the other one's going to have to go in my YZ plane. And I'll explain exactly why. So we're going to create a sketch, and I want to select this plane right here that is parallel to the body of the handle. So I'm going to move over to the edge, and I want to create the path, right? That's how we're going to make this. We're going to make the path that we want the cable to travel, and we're going to make a profile to travel the path. So we're going to create a line, and you'll notice, right, when I don't have anything selected, I'm able to select all of these bodies and these features, but as soon as I go to a drawing tool, it goes away. I can't select this line anymore. So it's kind of like tracing, right? If you open up a new sketch and you want to go back to another sketch and trace over it, you have to manually go in and tell Fusion that. So under Create is something called Project, so right here. And Project does exactly what I just explained, right? So if you want to trace a sketch from a prior version, something that you made before in the past, you got to tell Fusion, and this is the button to do so. So we're going to select Project, and I'm going to tell Fusion, all right, I want to reference this line right here. I'll zoom in again. So I'm going to click on this, I'm going to push OK, and you'll notice we get a purple line now on our screen. That is the symbol or the color coordination for Project. We've now told Fusion, right, reference this in this current sketch. So we're going to go and roughly make a chord path. So we'll start off with a line. We'll go out a little bit. We'll go into Create. We'll make an arc like so. We'll make another line like this. Let's see. And then we'll add one more arc just for good measure. All right, so we've made a path that our cable is going to be. So imagine if this actually had some depth to it, right? This would be our cable, but it's just simply a one-dimensional, or I guess two-dimensional line. So now we need to add a path, right? This is our profile. Now we need to make our path. And these two words may not mean anything to you, but once we get to the final finishing button, it'll all make sense. So we're going to add another sketch onto this body, perpendicular to the path that we just made. So I'm going to snap in on my center, and we're going to make our thickness of our cable. We'll do 0.75, finish sketch. And so now what we're going to do is, right, we have this path right here, and we have a profile. This has basically like this has zero thickness. So we're going to make an infinite copy of this all throughout this path, and we're going to make a solid shape. So under Create is Sweep, and there's two parts. Our profile, so that is our circle, and then our path, which is all of this. And then OK, and you'll notice it's going to make copies of that circle over and over and over again throughout the whole path, and it's going to give us the cord to our hairdryer. This right here, this is the image that I want you guys to submit, the one final image of everything. And that is it for today. We went over the gear, and then we just finished this. Of course, if you guys are done, you're free to go. But if you need any more help, you know, we're all here, and we're here to help you. So just let us know.